about what is it that affects our education? Well, mostly it's memory, isn't it? When we think about learning, what are you doing? You're grabbing memories and then being able to access them and then use them in an appropriate manner at the appropriate time when you need to access them. So wit, short-term memory, long-term memory, communication skills from recognizing facial expressions and tones, all these different things, logic, spatial relationships from where you are in time and space, all the way to cause and effect, and just executive functioning, time management. All these things can be improved by improving your overall brain health. And so you think about sports, whenever you have a job to do on the basketball court, on the football field, tennis, all the different things. How do you improve your performance during a tournament or during a really important game? Well, you have to condition yourself. You have to do other things like stretching, strengthening. You're not necessarily playing the game the whole time in order to get better at the game. You're doing background stuff. Well, our brains are the same way. We have a background system, a background exercise we can do that will improve our overall brain health. Stick with me to see what that is. Hey everybody, my name is Suzanne Gose. I am the owner of Flip Flop Spanish, the creator of Flip Flop Spanish and Spanish Geniuses. But more importantly, I'm a homeschooling mom of 5 children. I have 2 left to graduate. We live on a little hobby farm in Texas. And before I was a homeschooler, I was a public school teacher. So I went and got the degree and taught in public school and did all the things. So I learned a lot about how to teach the lesson when I was a public school teacher. And then I learned how to teach the child whenever I started teaching homeschool classes, to, private classes to all the different, just a vast array of different ages, learning styles, and students in my Spanish and public speaking classes. So I've been married to the same guy for 27 years. He's a Marine, and we actually met in high school. So there's been a lot of changes in our lives from high school to children to married and then children, and then professionally, that our brains have really adapted and changed a lot. And so I've looked into a lot of brain health over the years as I tried to help all the different people with how to learn a language better. And that has opened up an entire, I don't know, like a library full of information that you can find out about brain health and how a foreign language goes with that. So I bet you're not surprised. It's learning a foreign language, learning and using a foreign language. When you learn and use a foreign language, you're opening synapses in your brain, creating new neural pathways that then improve every other part of your brain. There's new logic pathways, memory, short term, long term, executive functioning. Everything improves, not because you're practicing those other things, but because you're learning a skill that you can't use any other way. So let's talk about those 3 different ways that our brain improves, from the physical, the embodiment of the actual organ, all the way down to the memory issues that are improved from preteens all the way up through senior adults, right? Young adults all the way up. How does that improve? And then the last point is going to be aging issues as you get older, how you're going to be benefiting your future of your children, not just right now. Okay, so we're going to start with the brain itself, the organ. What happens whenever you learn a second language? Well, there's this part in the front that is dead. It just doesn't get used. It's just dead, gray, and shriveled. And if you don't learn a second language, right, if you only have the one language to process, that part stays dead, meaning your brain's functions, your memory skills, all those things just go around it. Once you wake that up and you open that up with American Sign Language could work. It's not quite as effective as Spanish, French, German, Russian, Chinese, any other language that uses the spoken and the listening, the audio and the verbal part of the language. Once you use that part, it opens up and wakes that part up of your brain. So think about if you had a shortcut. If you have to go from here to here to here, and then, this road over here is now opened, how much more quick you are whenever you're accessing information, processing information. And then you're also waking up a storage portion of your brain. So your memory content improves. The elasticity of your brain improves. The wall of your brain gets thicker. So they actually did measurements of brains it's gross. I mean, it's autopsies, but anyhow, bilingual humans and non-bilingual, like monolingual, unilingual humans. So people that only speak one brain, the actual size of your brain and the wall of your brain is actually smaller than those who speak more than one language. If you get two or three, it does get a little bit faster, but honestly, it's that second language of using it that improves the actual physicality, the physical process, characteristics, quality of the organ hanging out up here in your skull. So that if you do have a trauma, an injury, an accident, you get a concussion, you are quicker to bounce back from those problems. So learning a second language helps with accessing the information, where it goes in your brain, the space, and then, of course, the neural pathways. Everything becomes quicker because you have more pathways. Crazy, right? Beyond the physical characteristics and quality of your brain, we need to talk about the function. So once that function happens, once you start learning just one phrase that you continue to use or you begin using in a second language, not the same language. So you're meaning something and understanding something, but you're using a new language to communicate and then receiving that information back to you, your memory quality improves. We're talking short-term memory, long-term memory, interpersonal communication, where when you meet somebody, you're able to recognize their face and grab, oh, where did I meet that person? The information is more accessible more quickly. So not only our memory and our recall are affected, but also our relationships. Your executive functioning improves, your time management skills improves. So this is a part of your brain that if it's not used, you can still do all those things. But if you have a child and you think, well, I don't want them to learn a second language because their memory is kind of iffy. No, that's when you want them to learn that second language. So it's a little bit of a struggle at the beginning, especially if you have a visual processing disorder, like one of our children. And so here's the I need card, necesito. This is I need, necesito. So already I've given you a visual cue that is opening up a new pathway because I gave you a picture and a sound, necesito. You know it means I need because I told you, necesito. And so now with this visual cue, you're getting hand-eye coordination, interpersonal communication. I already said all these things. Everything improves because I am now assigning a new value that means something different. I need, necesito. I can flip it over and help to reinforce that idea, necesito. And then you're going to see the next time you want to say something like I need, and then an item, I need coffee, necesito más café. And you just understood me. So that short-term memory now is going to begin building pathways, larger highways, larger hallways for your thought processes to go. So sometimes it's slower, right? When you're in high school, you have a slower path or a shorter path, and your memory doesn't work because hormones, sleep deprivation, you're not eating as well, you're growing, there's all kinds of things happening. Well, this gives your brain more opportunities. As we age, things slow down, we have more working memory, and so we drop things because our capacity isn't big enough. This is going to help that. Then as we age, we're not using as much of that capacity, and so those things die a little bit, and they're just in general, our cells die. The cells in our brain, the cells in our body and our muscles, all those things die. They don't work as well. And so this new thing of just learning one phrase, I need, necesito, is one tiny step to improving all the other functions. So this actually helps with every single age, from preteen to young adult, middle-aged, and then aging on. So your immaturity issues of impulse control, that kind of stuff of not being able to slow down long enough to keep your words from saying something you really don't want to say, all the way to speeding up that impulse of, oh, I need to process this a little bit more quickly because people around me are getting impatient. Those synapses are improved by learning the second language. The neural pathways are better regulated because there's more of them. And so you're not having these hiccups as much. Think about a traffic jam. And if there's more roads opened up, then people use those roads. Well, your brain waves are the same way. And so the neurological pathways are happening because you're using more of them. And it's just amazing. Now, I know we can't prove a negative, right? You say, well, Suzanne, your memory's not that great after all. maybe it's not any better. Maybe you're not, your executive functions haven't improved. Maybe my teenager is just as forgetful as they would have been. You can't prove to me that your foreign language learning actually helped all these things: math, logic, science, history, facts, understanding chemistry, understanding all those processes. You can't prove that to me. That's true. I can't prove a negative. I can't say that it would have been worse if you hadn't done this, or it is better because you have done this. There's no way for me to prove that within each individual child. However, the surveys do show, so if you look at brain health and foreign language, bilingualism, multilingualism, again and again and again, by and large, if they look at people that only know one language versus the people who know all these tons of languages, the brain health is huge in that. Dementia, if you are worried about dementia, you get 10 more years of wit, 10 more years of short-term and long-term memory working well if you're bilingual. So a bilingual person, yeah, they still get Alzheimer's, they still get dementia. They looked at it, was it because of the genetic makeup? Like maybe, oh, well, these are Hispanic elder adults, so they don't get dementia until they're 83 instead of 73 because of something else. Nope, because then they looked at the French, European, African, whatever it is. If you knew 2 languages, 10 more years than the same person who lived in the same area as you, the same genetic makeup as you, your same race, all those things. That was the number one thing that gave you another decade of hyper-focused, intelligent, able to communicate life, was whether or not you knew more than one language. So that's a gigantic thing. The second thing I was going to say, improving loss of brain activity, emotions, pathways. Oh, rats. So a lot of times people say, oh, that kid is so smart because he knows 7 languages, or that adult is so smart because he knows however many languages. And that they think, oh, they're smart and that's what gave them the ability to learn. No, it's the other way around. They began learning languages, and so that gave them the ability to become smarter. So instead of thinking about, oh, I have to be smart in order to learn a language, no, you want to start learning the language, which improves your intelligence across the board. I actually had to pause the video to remember that. And so my short-term memory, sometimes if I'm tired, if I had a long day, if I had a stressful day, it diminishes, right? Your emotions make a difference. But I do trust myself. I know that if I give myself long enough and just kind of calm down, my executive functioning will come right back in, and I will be able to recall that memory. And I really do believe, because I'm bilingual, that is one of the reasons I don't fail in remembering. I just have to take a breath and give myself a chance. Where other people who are pushing 50, other women that are homeschooling or run a business or all these different things, they just give up because they're not going to access it. They say, oh, well, I'll remember it later, and they give up and move on. And I really do believe the bilingualism is what allows me to access that information. So in closing, I have probably convinced you, haven't I, that, oh my goodness, learning a foreign language and using the foreign language, it can't just be facts of a list of words. Oh, I know this word means this and this word means that. You probably are ready now to try and communicate in a second language. I taught you necesito earlier. Necesito, I need. I think this is backwards for you, but you get the idea. Necesito. And I bet you know a lot of nouns in a second language, in Spanish specifically. It is the second most commonly used language in America. And so maybe you know la cuchara, or el plato, or el tenedor. So maybe you know some kitchen words. Maybe you know clothing words. Maybe you know animal words. Well, now I've given you the ability to say necesito, I need, then whatever it is. And you probably know por favor, please, por favor. So instead of always worrying about how do I start a sentence, let's do a sentence starter. I need. I also have I like, me gusta. Think about sentence starters that you frequently begin sentences with and just start. So this is the plan. One phrase. Necesito la cuchara, por favor. Necesito el plato, por favor. Necesito el cuaderno, por favor. If you were in the April one, you already remembered that one from an earlier one. Necesito el lápiz. So you have all different kinds of sentences, nouns, because you know necesito. Then we add in verbs. I need to buy, whatever it is. Necesito comprar, whatever it is. So simply starting with one flashcard at a time, listening to the words, learning the words, and then building them the same way you build your language, you're going to be amazed. You recognize that it can be simple. Break it down into small chunks. Flashcards are the best way I've noticed. Here we go. This is the best one. Helado. Helado. Now you can see necesito helado, or necesito comprar helado. So you have lots of different ways of laying these out on flash on tables and improving your brain health. It is super important for your teenagers, your preteens, all the way down. These kids that are learning, the function of just using their hands well. So hand-eye coordination, gross motor skills, and then fine motor skills. It's all connected. So please don't let the inability or the lack of capability of a child keep you from attempting the second language. That lack of capability is what should push you to attempt to communicate in a second language. All right, so I'm not going to leave you hanging. Of course, I'm going to give you a free first lesson. So if you liked the necesito and the helado, that is in lesson 1 of See It and Say It. Use Quest as your download, and you can get that free of charge. And from the website here. Or if you already have See It and Say It, you've been working on it already, then I have Back to School Spanish Bingo for you. It has the audio, it has some videos for you as well. And my idea here, back to school, right? Not just for the kids, but back to school for us, because it really is important. Our brain health, wouldn't it be wonderful for us to give our families and give us 10 more years? Maybe we won't have dementia, maybe we won't have Alzheimer's, but wouldn't it be great to give us another 10 years because we're trying something now? So start now, as young as age 3 all the way up to 93. Literally, it has been proven to be useful. You're never too old, you're never too incapable or too busy or whatever. One word starts, and I have some great ways for you to start, and I really think this will benefit your life. And it's fun. It doesn't have to be scary. All right, I'm Senora Gose. Oh, you can find me on flipflopspanish.com, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, whatever it is. I hope this helped.